surprising because I didn't know all these other people were listening to the podcast and waiting for the launch. And then when I launched, and I was like, "Holy crap, this is awesome!" People were like, send me calls and all that to get messages and calls. But what sucked was because Apple was in the middle of like their weird transition with adding the subscriptions.
Right.
Not just the new podcasts that were affected, like mine, but even OG podcasts were affected as well. So it just kind of fucked it all up.
Okay.
But I'm like, hey, just like in business, you just have to adapt and adjust accordingly.
Right. And what do you call on your podcast again?
This new podcast is the People's Coach podcast.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Just so people know.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, I mean, because people still thought I was doing the Just F It podcast, which is the one I ran for
Yeah.
100 episodes over 2 years, and people were like, "Whoa, what's going on?" And I'm like, "No, no, no, like this is the new one." And then people who were looking for it on Apple couldn't find it, so they had to download Spotify and or Google Podcast, and it was just kind of like, damn, like not exactly the bang I really wanted to capture all the reviews, but the last, I think. They got it all. Apple got it all squared away the last few days, so it is
Good.
what
That's
it is.
great. I
Yeah. So it's like whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you what, I've been so excited for this podcast today. I've been waiting on it for 2 weeks. I've been pretty busy, so I didn't do any in between. So you're my little take off a
Nice,
break. So it's super exciting. Um,
awesome. I love it.
Ready to talk to the people's coach.
Hmm. I love it, brother. I love it, man. I'm all yours, man.
So for everyone listening, what got you started in becoming the people what got you started in what you do, being a people's coach? And what makes yours, I guess, what's your selling point? If you could sell yourself in one word, what does it? Or not one word, one sentence.
My selling point for the podcast, or you're saying me?
For you, I guess, yeah, because like I would love podcast is huge, and whatever you want to get across here today. But I'm really intrigued. The people's coach portion of it relates to your podcast. I know we
Mm.
talked a little bit about it too. So I guess like, let's start there. Let's go into that. Let's go into what the people's coach is. Let's go into what you do a little bit and let people know.
Yeah. So it's funny, man. Like how this whole life works out. And it's all like intertwined of memories and experiences and all these different stages of life that we get to experience. And my background comes from law enforcement, right? Like I started my career as a police officer out in the Bay Area. Beautiful, the the beautiful Golden Gate Bridge right behind you. So I was out there for X amount of years until I got injured, and that led me getting off the police department and starting this entrepreneurial journey. A lot of people choose to go into entrepreneurship because they have this grand vision of a dream or a product or a service or whatever. I more or less got into it because I had no other option. I was in my mid to late 20s and I had no degree, not a whole lot of life experience. So I'm kind of like, wait, can I curse here or no?
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Oh, I
We're
was gonna
we're free
say,
flowing.
I was like, oh, yeah. I only say that because I was interviewed on his other podcast once, and I didn't realize that like a lot, like her kids also listen to it, and I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm over there cussing a storm, and they're listening to it in the car, and they're like, what did he just say, mommy?
No,
um,
we cuss all the time here. It's not yeah, you're good. It's put on as explicit or whatever on Apple Podcasts. It's all good.
all right, cool. Yeah, I mean, it's not like I'm overly trying. It's just how part of my
Speech. Yeah.
speech, right? And anyways, so I get into entrepreneurship, and I'm just kind of figuring out what the hell do I do next. I I've I have all this tactical knowledge, all these weapons and these warrior identity type things in my mind. How do I apply that into the next stage of my life? I had no degree, minimal life experience, and I was kind of like, I'm shit out of luck. So, long story short, I start a supplement company. I do that for a little bit. As we start to grow, I realize that I'm missing this component of having a team, being a leader, having more people around me rather than just doing this supplement thing and just working with suppliers. And it was strictly just that. I wanted to grow something more. So I rebranded my company from Modern Nutrition into Modern Fitness, where we were doing corporate wellness, leadership, all this kind of stuff. And I've been doing that for the last 4 to 5 years, and as of recently I'm actually stepping away from that to go into podcasting full time. Now, how I got the people's coach was in between that time where I was starting the supplement company and then my, walking away from the PD. I was asked to do some like motivational inspirational speeches to a few local Bay Area business owners, just from one connection to another. That got me into the whole coaching thing, the whole leadership, the whole, you know, coming in and giving these inspirational speeches. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just kind of speaking my truth. And from there, I got, I had the opportunity to work with celebrities, professional athletes, all these different types of brands. And one thing that was very clear to my clients was that I had a heart for people. And that's how I got that nickname, the People's Coach. And when I heard it, I'm a huge fan of The Rock, right? So when I heard that, I was kind of like all giddy. I was like, yes, like, I'm taking that one. So now I know I'm kind of going all over the place, but now I'm really focusing more on my personal brand, going back into the coaching, stepping away from the corporate wellness stuff, and just focusing on myself, my family, and minimizing all these different distractions in my life.
Definitely. So I know you touched on motivation a little bit there, and that's something that
Yeah.
I would love to get into because I feel like um people oftentimes can set goals or set wants or needs, put it out on a board even. But I think what people struggle with a lot is the motivation to actually go out and do it. And I think more or less the motivation to do the things you dislike, right? And
Hmm.
so for example, I love doing the podcast. I love doing my website, but I also have to do the things that I dislike to continue to make it grow, right? I don't want
True.
to sit there and follow people on Instagram all day. I don't want to I don't want to if I'm being honest, I don't want to do the cutting and editing of any videos either because
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not skilled in it. It's not what piques my interest, right?
yeah.
Um, but you have to do it. So I guess what do you
Yes.
think what do you think is people's biggest blocker when they just stop their motivation to do something?
Honestly, like, and maybe I'm oversimplifying it, but it's just a lack of action. It's really just a lack of action because it's not like we don't know what the answer is. Like, for example, you're talking about building up a podcast, building up this,
Right.
this certain brand. You can easily go on Google and get all the information you want. There's a
Right.
ton of information, so you kind of have to sift through it, but it's there. The answers are out there. The reason why people don't have what they want in life is they just didn't take the risk. They didn't go all in. They didn't take enough action really to go after whatever that dream or goal was. There's going to be parts. Yeah, one of my coaches, he said this to me during one of our conversations. This was years and years ago. And in my head, I'm like, bro, I'm paying you all this money and this is the crap you give me. Like, what is this? He said, uh, he asked me, what's your favorite flavor of shit sandwich? I was like, what? You know, like literally, what your reaction right now was my reaction when I was on the phone with him. I was like, bro, are you messing with me right now? Like, what is this? This is stupid, you know? But when he started to explain, he's like, no matter what you do in life, there's going to be a part of it that you don't like. So the sooner you understand that, the sooner you accept that, the better off you'll be. The faster you'll grow, the faster you'll win. So, what's your favorite flavor of shit sandwich? I was like, okay, okay, that was good. That was good.
Definitely. And I think
Mhm,
I also think there's a fine line in there too that you said it best, right? And I remember I watched a video of Jack Dorsey
mhm,
the other like last week, and he said almost exactly what you said. And it was, but it was more towards like idea people. So like there's like people that are idea people, and the biggest stopper to those people is the implementation. It goes the consistency to
100%.
implement the idea and to, eat your shit sandwich. Now, the question is, I think what a lot of people too struggle with is when is it time to cut the loss though too? And what I mean by that is,
Mm.
you don't want to always be eating shit sandwich. You don't.
No, right.
No one wants to always be eating a shit sandwich.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, at what point do you think you reach where it's like your assessment stage and you're just like, I'm just always unhappy? And,
You know,
how
I
do you change that?
that's such a great question, and I'm glad that you bring that up because that's something I was literally going through less than a year ago. I was, or we were, I should say, we were, like I said, we were doing the whole modern fitness thing, the corporate wellness. Things were going well, we're growing, but I was still unhappy. Like not just unhappy where I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm tired. Like I was like I dreaded going to work. Like I didn't want to do it at all. And I think even though we started to gain success and we started to gain distraction, that unhappiness was a signal for me. And I started to ask myself, why am I so unhappy? Even though we're getting featured on these big magazines and these big articles, like, is there something wrong with me? Like legit, that's what I was asking. Like, I'm like, what the like this is all internal, right? Like, what could be the freaking problem when I freaking built this from the ground up and I'm still unhappy? Why is that? And the answer that I came to was I was still trying to live up to other people's expectations. I was still living my life based off what other people thought I'm good at, what other people thought or believed my skill sets were, and I was still looking for their approval. But when I realized that, I'm like, I gotta be unapologetically me. If all things in life were equal, pay, notoriety, power, whatever, right? Like if it were all equal, what would I be doing? What did I have the most fun? A big component that I was missing in my life these last 5, 6, 7 years was having fun. It sounds foo-foo, like I know, but fun is a big like I want to laugh more. I want to smile more. I want to not be drained when I'm, hanging out with my family or holding my daughter. I want that transfer of energy to be clean. I want to be happy. I want to be happier. Now how the hell do I go do that?
That's huge. And that's what I mean. I would assume there's so many people out there that feel that, what you just described, right?
Mhm.
And have
Mhm.
no idea how to get out of it. And, I think there's like, I think there's a saying where it's like whispers in your ears are like wind in your sails, but it can blow you
Mhm.
the wrong direction, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so if not, I just made that up and chalk it
That
on
was
the
pretty
board.
good, bro.
Yeah.
I'll give it to you. That was good. I'm like, I think I heard something similar, but I like yours better.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
good.
Chalk it up on the board.
There you go.
But when you let and I love the metaphor of steering the boat. I love the boat
Mhm.
metaphor because there's so many times too where people I think, something I struggle with right now is like I don't listen to myself. And what I
Mhm.
mean by that is I try so hard to control my situations and get to the island that I think is the island I should be on, right? To get to the destination where I think I should be because that's what people have told me where I think I should be. And that's where, that's the only thing you've known. I'm, not fresh out of college, but you're still young. The only thing you know is what people have told you and like that's where you want to
Right.
be. And it's so hard to just be like, what does Curtis actually want? Where does he actually want to go?
Dude, that's huge. Yeah.
And that's where I think you can't silence your own voice. You can't silence your this when this person in here is quiet, that's when you see the people that are 30, 40 years old, super unhappy with their life and
Yes.
have no idea of where to go.
Dude, that's so funny, bro. I feel old now saying this. Like, I just turned 31 in March, right? It was literally around my 30th birthday when I started having these feelings of like, what the hell am I doing with my company? What am I doing? Like, I know what the plan is of what we're doing, but internally, why am I still so unhappy? It wasn't the money, it wasn't the power, it wasn't the connections or the network. It was me. I was still trying to live up to other people's expectations. I wasn't fulfilling my own dreams. I was still listening to other people. But until I learned to silence all the noise, and for me, I had to step away. Like, people were legit checking in on me on social media because, like, one day I just straight up disappeared for like months. Like, they're like, "Are you okay? We haven't heard from you. We haven't seen you." And these are just social media folks, not
Right.
like my real friends that I text with all the time. It would, definitely felt good to know like people cared to watch my content and all that stuff. But at the same time, I had to really just disconnect from all these things. When you take away the bullshit, when you take away the distractions, when you take away people pulling you left and right, what's left? That's just Curtis.
Right.
That's just Angelo. And the more time I spent with just Angelo to figuring out what I really wanted, then I started to rebuild myself.
And I think when you first take that leap, and people get scared when they first take that leap,
Oh
because
yeah.
it is scary to be
Hmm.
completely by yourself and you have to discover yourself, right?
Oh,
You have
dude.
to
Yeah.
discover your person. This is a scary thought. There's so many ways, distractions, play on your phone, watch TV, do things. And
Yes.
I can attest to it because I do those things. But, and that's the biggest thing that I'm trying to get over right now is like being uncomfortable with being by myself. And it's a
Hmm.
strange thing to say, but at least for my experience, I think it's something that's necessary for me to better my life. And I am uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable right now because it's like I'm trying to figure out what exactly I want out of life.
Hmm.
And that's okay though. And I think
Yes.
other people should think that's okay. And it's a wall that you got to run through in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. You either gotta run through it, run around it, run under it, dig a hole, whatever. But it's a phase in life we all have to get through. And here's the thing, man. This was, right now it's obviously directed to you, but for everyone who's gonna listen or watch this, figure out the patterns you're putting together in your life right now. Just like you said, when you're alone, you get bored and you're gonna watch TV or excuse me, play video games or whatever, drink was one of the things that I used to
Yeah.
do. Figure out what patterns are coming up in your life because you may feel like no, I'm good, but then you're playing more video games, you're watching more TV, you're disconnecting with your family, you're drinking, you're doing this, you're doing that. If you look at the patterns you have when you're in this area, you have a higher chance of becoming successful and getting out of there quicker. Because one of the mistakes we make is we hang out in that area too long. And some people never get the fuck out because they're just moping around. This happened to me. Life kicked me in the balls. I lost my job. I lost this. I lost that. And yeah, of course you feel bad, but really you can still get out of that. You just don't have the intention to get out of it. You're still watching TV, playing video games. Do like again, I'm not like demonizing any of these things because I do it every now and then. It's part of, when I have that time with my wife. But we have to be aware of the patterns that are showing up in our lives.
I've always said that complacency is the biggest
Mm,
hindrance to success. When you become complacent in what you're doing, when you're just okay, there's nothing more to like. And I'm gonna even take it a step further. I'm not a religious person, but when I was younger, much like most people, I was forced to go to church. And I remember one time a preacher said it was like you don't want to be. He was referencing the church, but I think it referenced life more. And he was like, you don't want to be a lukewarm church. He goes, I'd rather us be ice cold or steaming hot, but the worst
mm.
type is lukewarm, half in, half out, just going through the motions. And I thought
Right,
that
right,
was
right.
huge in like reference to life because if you're cold, at least you know you dislike that and you can get rid of it, right? You can chop it off. It's like a frozen limb, get rid of it. And if you're steaming hot, you're in love with it. You're feeling the emotions. You're going through it. you're enjoying life, like you said, just having a blast. But when you're lukewarm, it's like, do I get rid of it? Do I not?
Yeah.
We'll just keep
Yeah.
going. Everything's okay right now, so why not keep it
Hmm.
okay? Nothing's too crazy, nothing's too great either.
Right.
And like that's a terrible way to live.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think there's a book on it, and I have yet to read it, but I reference to it all the time. It's like good is the enemy of great. You'll never achieve anything great if you keep settling for good,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you. Now, in the I think greatness is defined in multiple ways. You have to define it yourself. I think that deals with a lot of how you talk to yourself and figure out what you think is greatness, right? Some people's
Totally.
greatness might just be being a father. And like that's what you've
Hmm.
always wanted to do and that's your greatness. Some people's greatness is I want to be president of the United States, right? And like that's your
Hmm.
greatness. So you have to find that out. But when finding it out, how much is applying yourself and finding yourself out and applying it to creating your goals. So like let's I guess let's go through that process, right? Like
Okay. Yeah.
goal defining and I believe goal defining is a huge portion of people's success, right? And I
Hmm.
think but defining the right type of goals I think is where people get lost.
Yeah. I think first and foremost, you have to have a goal. You have to have an endpoint. You have to have a destination that you're trying to go to. Otherwise, you're just going to be going in circles and you don't even know if it's working or not because it's circles, right? Um, so I definitely believe in having short-term and long-term goals. Now, there's a lot of different people that try to plan this out differently. Some people have like 3-year goals, 5-year goals, 10-year goals. It's not bad to have, but I do like to operate in shorter, like literally 1-year goals. People underestimate what they can accomplish in 365 days. Now, if you just have full intention of your 1-year goal and making that into fruition, you can get that done sooner. And here's the thing, at this point in my life, I've had so many different like identity shifts that I understand it's this art of being strict and focused and structured, and at the same time being like malleable, being adaptable, because life will change, life will shift, whether you like it or not. It may help you, it may hurt you, but you have to also be prepared for that. So it's this, I something I teach my clients is plan for the long term but operate in the short term. Plan for the long term but operate in the short term. You have to be able to look long distance but operate with the daily tasks and goals in mind. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's huge. I was just processing it. I love that plan for the long term, operate in the short term cuz you know,
Correct.
you can't those are things that are like tough to if you're always thinking about long term, you can never do things now, right? That's
Hmm.
the biggest problem, right? You can only I think the craziest part is that you everyone wants to be in the future and no one wants to but like the only thing you can affect is your now. And so
Correct.
that's a hard balance to make. And there's this book called Stumbling Upon Happiness that talks about it, right? And he talks about in there that you know, one thing that always stresses people out is that you're always living in the future and you never can live in the now, right? And he doesn't
Yeah.
say it exactly like that. He goes in way more scientific about how
Yeah.
we can perceive our future and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's what I got from the book is like we're always consistently at least I'm not finished with it, so don't quote me on it. But we're always consistently going for the future and not living in the now. And you need to be able to do both, in my opinion, right? And so
Yes.
and that's what what you just said that's huge. I think it's huge and important for people to do both. It's okay to dream about the future, it's okay to have an idea, it's okay to have a goal,
Right.
but what's not okay is to only be living for that and to only be looking at that because it's not what's in front of you. I think that's where people get lost.
Oh yeah, it's like, one of I'm like a visionary. I love to build. I love to create. I love to, start things from the beginning and then like build them up into something great. That's something like I just enjoy doing. But I know one of the downfalls is my head's always in the clouds. I'm always dreaming. I'm always creating. So I need to understand like, hey, there's times, and this goes back into strategically planning out your days. I know for me, I'm a morning person. I get up for the most part. I try to be consistent with it. I'm not so sure how well that's going to work out once our baby girl is here, but I'll let you know how that is. I get up at 4:30 in the morning because I know, I'll start off my routine, and I know like my creative juices just flow really early in the day. I can journal, I can write, I can create the best when I'm not distracted. That's my morning times. Now, when I go into my afternoon and my evening times, that's when I'm doing. That's when I'm getting on calls. That's when I'm talking to clients. That's when I'm doing podcasts or connecting with people because I know that's the time for doing. So I'm able to do both. I'm able to dream and create, and I'm also able to do. The problem comes when people don't have enough structure in their day, where it's just, I wish I had more time. No, you have more time. You just haven't put it in your calendar. You haven't been intentional about making time for it. You know what I mean?
Definitely. I think structure is a great aspect to being successful. I think no one became successful overnight without having a structure to their day, and you can look
For
at
sure.
there's all those people, there's a reason why there's so many YouTubers out there that are getting famous off of doing what other people did for the day because their days are structured, right? You
Yeah,
look at,
totally.
I just watched one, it was like Ronaldo, day in the life of Ronaldo, and like, he went through all his workouts and he did what he did in his free time, and like, but like Ronaldo's day was structured. There's one where it's a day in the life of Mark Cuban. What Mark Cuban gets up the same
Mm,
time every day, wears what he's going to work out in the next day so he doesn't have to think about it, right? So he doesn't have to worry
that's
about it.
awesome. Yeah.
And goes and basketball for an hour to start off his day, then work, and then something else, and then like, and that's the way it's very structured. You have to do it to accomplish things. You have to structure. If I'm being
Mhm.
honest, right? Think of a gym workout. Like life is like, because you're fitness, right? Life is like a gym workout. If
Yeah,
your
yeah,
gym
yeah.
workout's sloppy and you're just all over the place, you're not going to build any muscle. You're not going to get better. But if your gym
Mm-mm.
workout's structured and your week for your gym workout is structured, guess what? You get bigger, you get better, you get leaner, whatever your goal is, structured and
Right.
taking the time out and being structured in the diet. And like, that's life though. That's life, is being
Yeah.
structured like that, is being, oh, okay, I need to do this, this, and this in my day. Let's do it at this time, and this time. And it's not
Mm.
saying do the same thing every day because that can get monotonous,
Right, right, right.
but becoming, having that goal and doing the little, like you said, look in the future, right? So your goal. Now it's doing the little things today that get you closer to it
Hmm.
and doing those every day.
Hey, dude, that consistency, discipline, all these things are like people that they've talked about these concepts for hundreds and thousands of years. Like there's all these old school books written on consistency, discipline, like, and people are still like, what do I do? Like, no, bro, you know what you have to do. You're just not doing it. Stop overcomplicating it. Well, this guy says this guy says that, this guru said this guy recommended that. Like, dude, pick one and commit to it. Pick one and commit to it. Here, one thing that I love to teach is this 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 concept of decision making, right? Like I said, I was a police officer for X amount of years, and how I got injured was I was actually qualifying for our police department SWAT team. And one of the concepts that, room clearing is something that we talk about a lot. You see it in the movies. The SWAT team, they stack up against the door. One guy goes right, the other goes left, and they kill all the bad guys, and they're just kind of going through the whole house like that, right? The principles of room clearing are actually very basic, and don't worry, I'm not like giving away anything super secret that people are gonna be like, whoa, what the hell is he saying? But it's on the decision of the first guy, your point guy. If the first guy goes right, the second guy is supposed to go left, and vice versa. If the one guy in the front goes left, The other guy goes right. Because what happens if the first guy he chooses to go right, but midway he decides to change his mind, he's going to run into the second guy, and if there's a bad guy in that room, that whole team's dead. So whether you choose to go right or left, you got to make a decision and stick with it. If there's a bad guy there, if there's a dog there, if there's a couch, if there's nothing, make your decision, stick with it, and keep going. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I'm a firm believer in making decisions and just going with it. And it's something that I adapt to my life. And I don't like being an indecisive person. It's just like choose, just pick one. Just pick one. What's the worst that
Yeah.
happens? Even, what's the worst that happens? Okay. We picked one. Our dinner wasn't that good today. Okay, we know next time not to go down that route, right? But like
Yes.
that's huge. You have to be decisive. And I like to mix these two things up. And a lot of people are like, you got to believe in yourself to do it and go out and set to
Mm-hmm,
do it.
mm-hmm.
And I don't think, I think those should be reversed. I think do it first, do it, like it, see if you like it, do it, and
Yes.
then believe in yourself that you can be good at it.
Ooh, yes. Here, dude, this is it, man. The work comes before the belief. You'll never have the confidence if you've never started, if you've never done it. You won't have that confidence. People, but people want it the other way around. I want to have the confidence first, and then I'll start taking action. No, fool. Like you got to start taking action, and then you'll build up the confidence. The work always comes before the belief. The work always comes before the belief. So you got to do the work, put in the time, put in the sweat equity. But people don't want to do that because, right now as a society, convenience is what we're being sold to.
And how much of a problem do you think that's caused people for reaching their goals and reaching what they want out of life?
Huge, bro. I mean, obviously it's convenient. Like if you're a super busy person and you just need to pick up food for your family when you get home, I understand those things, sure. But there's also a negative side to just everything being convenient. We don't it now it's just like, well, it's comfortable. I can just order food. Why do I have to make food when I can just order food? Why do I have to try to eat healthy when I can just go to the drive-through and be done in like 15 minutes? Right? It's these people don't want to be uncomfortable anymore. So, yeah, I believe that convenience in a way has made us weak as well. I mean, sure, technologically it's great. We're making all these advancements, but at the same time, what's on the flip side of that?
How much of that uncomfortability do you think comes from patience and just the lack of patience? And people want things now, right? And that's one thing I'll admit on the
100%.
podcast I struggle with is patience. I'm a now person. I'm like, I want this, I want it now. And it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's like I'm gonna go get it now. And I've always been that way. I want golf
Mhm.
clubs. I'm like, I want them now. When are they getting here? Now, 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 now. And I
Yep.
think, how much do you think that comes to like the where it starts to become a problem and where convenience, like you said, some people want to eat now, so they grab a burger instead from McDonald's or something. And some people, but like, how much do you think patience plays into that? I guess is what I'm asking.
It's huge, man. I mean, there's a quote that is huge that's always repeated in the personal development space, but because it's always repeated, people don't really give it its due respect. Where, the quote is, the way you do anything is the way you do everything. I'm sure you've heard that. I'm sure everyone in here watching or listening is like, oh, they've heard that, once or twice in the past. But that's the thing. If you don't have patience in one aspect of your life, what other areas of your life are you also impatient in? If you don't have the patience to go to the grocery store, cook your meals, put that TLC together to take care of your health and your body, what other areas of your business are you too impatient in as well? So patience is a huge role in our growth. As a kid, when they're growing up, they don't have too much patience, right? Because, they're hungry, they poop, whatever. You got to take care of it now. So I think some adults never grew out of that. They want it now, or else they're gonna throw a fit, or they're gonna cry, or something's gonna piss them off and ruin the rest of their day. But you gotta understand, patience is a component of success. Like you plant, and it's weird because I don't like planting stuff. I don't have like a green thumb,
Yeah.
but my grandma used to, and I never really understood the like what was cool. You put a plant in the ground, you put some water, you put some, let it get some sun. Cool, right? Like that was like boring to me. But now that I look at it, I'm like, dude, there's some patience that has to be played in this. There's some patience in putting in the work, putting the plant in the soil, covering it up, making sure it's getting direct sunlight, making sure it has oxygen. And it's not like the next day it's gonna freaking sprout up. There's a patience in there. And we are just like that. There's a time where we need to grow and develop, but people don't like that. They want it now.
Yeah, and I think gardening's a great example. I think that was a great example to use because you're you're right. It's and in gardening you have to be consistent with it too, right? You have to consistently water it. You have to consistently give it nutrients. You have to consistently do these things and wait for it to grow. You can't make it grow any faster. There's nothing that makes
Right.
it grow any faster. And
Right, right.
so, that's I think that if anyone wants something to do, that try to teach themselves patience because it has to start somewhere. I think that's a great thing for people to do, and you help the planet a little bit.
There
Might as
you go.
well,
Are
might as
you are
well.
you are you a gardener? Are you into that
I
stuff?
like. I have plants. I have plants.
Dude,
I I wish
you're
I.
probably like this asshole doesn't know what
Yeah.
he's talking about.
I live in an apartment, so I don't have a garden, but I like plants and I like the aspect of like there's not much effort into it, man. It doesn't require a lot of effort. It's just the consistency of doing it. And like,
Mm,
all comes back to that, just doing it, right? And so
right,
like,
right.
you know, when you're I guess I want to let's pivot to if you had three virtues or three things that lead you to your path of success and the way you view success in life. Maybe
Mhm.
not like you personally, maybe it's money, whatever. I'm talking about people personally. What do you think three are the three virtues that they need to have? And I think patience is one of them. And I guess I'll give my three. I think patience, the ability to just do it. Like as
Mhm.
as as
Mhm.
Nike as it sounds, just do it.
Yes. 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 I love that. Yeah.
And then the confidence to do that, which usually follows after the first two.
Yeah. That's really good, man. I think about that for a second. One of the things that I know you mentioned earlier, you're not, a man of faith, and that's totally cool. I get that. But for me, my faith has been a very critical part of my life because of all the ups and downs that I went through. I had some really high ups and I had some really downs. And I always credit it back to my faith from getting me out of that darkest part of my life because I lost my identity. I lost my title. I lost these worldly things that I had built up about myself. And when I was stripped down and that was it, I didn't know who the hell I was. I didn't know what the hell I was going to do in my life until I remembered, there's still a guy upstairs that still loves me, that there's a reason why I'm still here. There's a reason why I have this opportunity right now to speak to you, to speak to your audience, to use the platforms that I've been given and all these things to share hope. So to answer your question, I think first and foremost, faith is a big one. And again, you don't have to be necessarily a Christian or a religious person. It's just a belief in someone or something greater than yourself. Don't overcomplicate it. Just think about that. Because if you're doing everything for you, that path doesn't lead to happiness. That path, I believe, does not lead to success. But when you're part of something and you believe in something greater than you, it's just a human need that we have. We all want to love and we all want to be loved, right? So when you're able to tap into that and you have that kind of faith, I think that's a very, very big recipe for success. Now, number two and three, I think Humility, for sure. I think that we get so caught up in our worlds, developing ourselves, that we shut off to growth. One thing that I talk about a lot is that area in our life that that we feel the most secure in. Like, I don't need any help with that. I'm totally good with this. Is usually the part that needs the most help. And I think you need to be humble to know, like, okay, you need to be humble and self-aware to know, like, okay, I do need to work on this. I'm not perfect. So faith is one, humility is two, and I think the third one, there's so many good ones. The third one would actually have to be like what you're saying. You have to be a doer. You have to be able to make the rubber meet the road and stop planning and actually start doing. Even if it all failed, you still did something. You still learned something from there. Last thing you want to do is be the person that's just, hoping and wishing and planning and one day, someday, blah, blah, blah. You know what? That never is going to happen. Never going to happen. So you got to be the person that can take action and actually stick to your word.
Well, and in those aspects, right? So, especially the last one, you're how do I want to put this? At the end of the day in life, your failures, what you don't do, by taking those risks and doing, you'll always get something out of it, and that's
Always.
experiences. Always get experiences out of it. You always get a lesson, one of those things, right? Something out of it. And so I think that's important for people, when people are scared to take the risk and don't know what's going to happen. Like, the worst thing that happens is you get an experience out of it and you learn and you learn, you grow as a person, right? That's when you grow. Taking risk is the nutrients, man. That's when you're growing as a
Mm-hmm.
person. And and Jack Dorsey says that when you're the most uncomfortable is when you grow the most. And
Mm-hmm.
so, and that's huge. That's huge for taking risk. And I think in your first one with faith, right? Even for someone like me who's not of faith, um, I think love, you hit on it a little bit. I think love is that greater thing outside of your world. To love and be loved is something
Mm.
that's so beautiful and something no other species, no other things as far as we're aware of love the way we do and find necessity in other people. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a huge thing to discovering parts that's greater than yourself and something that's greater, holding on. And when you really, because for those that are deep in the dumps, right? Like, I feel like a lot of times it's because they don't feel that, right? It's because they
Right,
don't
right.
know or feel the love of something, whether it's a greater power, whether it's a friend or a family member, right? It's a lot of times they don't feel the love.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's huge. And I like I like that yours weren't like opposite of my what I gave. They were just such a different approach, almost a more like experienced approach to the, I'm all gas, no brakes, like gotta have confidence and do it and go get it. And you're just like, all right, let's take it back. We're gonna have humility in what we're doing. We're gonna, have faith, and just be able to do it. And so like I love that, it just shows the
That's
difference.
funny. That's so. I feel old now, bro. I feel old now. I really do, man. I right when you said that, I was like, shit, he's right. That's funny.
So,
Yeah.
I want to get back to you're a bit of a, brand builder, personal brand. One thing I wanted to touch on
Mhm.
during this podcast, I think a lot of people will help, is kind of how to build that personal brand or presence, but maybe on maybe like a LinkedIn profile, or like how do you make yourself more noticeable, right? How do you make yourself more noticeable to other people? I think that's one thing that'll be very useful to everyone listening right now, or yeah, everyone listening right now. Um, is everyone wants to be noticed more, and how do you get that?
See, it sounds really simple, but people don't pay it the respect it deserves is just being yourself. Because the truth is, like attracts like. So no matter how weird or awkward or out there you may feel you think you are, the truth is there's someone else like there, just like that. Maybe not exactly, but there's someone's gonna be like, dude, Curtis, I get it, bro. I'm like that too. And the last thing you want to be is try to be like all these other influencers out there on Instagram or whoever, right? Like quote unquote influencers. They're just trying to feed you what they think you want to see. So they're not being themselves. They're being a version of themselves that they think you want to see. That's hard to do consistently over a long period of time because you start to lose yourself, right? Like we're living up to other people's expectations, just like what I was saying in the beginning. Now, when you can be unapologetically you, speak from your heart, speak your truth. If you're a funny person, but you're also weird, be funny and be weird. If you like cars, but you also like, I don't know, painting, do that. If you're a podcaster and you like to plant, do that, be that, share that. Because when you share your stories and you share your pains, people who are listening, some people are going to be like, dude, I don't get you, bro. That's weird. That's okay. They're never going to do business with you. They're never going to contact you. They're never going to support you anyway. So don't worry about that. Not yet, at least.
Yeah.
Not yet. But there will be someone because of your courage and your confidence to step out and share your story. There is someone out there that will find power in that. And it may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, this month, or even this year, but you will have people in the shadows that will be following you. Again, they will be in the shadow. So don't expect a like, don't expect a comment, don't expect to share. Do it without any expectation. Just do it for the sake of being you. And trust me, with time and patience, just like what we've been talking about this whole podcast, with time and patience, people will reach out to you like, Curtis, man, I've been following you for years. And it's like, you know exactly what's going on in my head. It's crazy, bro. Because I literally had the same approach. I thought I had to be the entrepreneur, the CEO, this leader, this alpha, right? And in the first few years of my entrepreneurial journey, that's how I showed up as. And you know what? I sounded like everybody else. But here's a great example, right? The other day, one of the things that I do to give myself clarity is I'll play instruments. I play three different types of instruments, right? I play the piano, I play the ukulele, and I play the violin. Now, the other day, I was playing the ukulele and I'm like, dude, let me go on Instagram and show people, like, hey, I also play different instruments. I had so much more engagement on my story than like me working out or me talking about, my clients or branding or anything. Like, because people are like, oh, that's cool, bro. I didn't know that about you. Like, like it's just these differences that people are so afraid to share are actually the keys to your personal brand.
I think that's spot on. And I think it also leads into, knowing your audience, right? And knowing that, so like your audience is people that like what you like, and it's that simple. And it is that simple, right?
Right, right, right.
When I made Man Meets Modern, it's I at the end of the day, Man Meets Modern is a bunch of stuff that I like and think that I have knowledge about, and
There you
and
go.
I think other people have knowledge about. That's the
Mm.
bare bones definition of what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're creating those LinkedIn profiles, when you're creating, trying to get more of an Instagram following or trying to have more people follow you, it's important that if you're doing something you don't like, A, it's going to be miserable for you,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but B, people are going to sense. I feel like people can sense how ingenuine it is, how like non-genuine it
100%.
is. And that's where you can't people are being lost in building this personal brand. I feel like is by not being a genuine person.
Yeah. Because if you're reaching out to people and you're talking to people for the sake of, I want to do business with you every single time, you don't think people sense that? Like, you don't think people get that like weird, like car salesman type emotion from you. Like now, like sure, we can build a relationship and get to know each other, and eventually if it goes into business, yeah, we can do that. But if your intention is to reach out for business, be straight up with it. Now there's the different tactics you can obviously implement,
Right.
but have your intentions in check. Don't just be like, "Hey man, I'm just trying to connect," but deep inside you want something from me. Like I haven't been around that long, right? I've only been around for 31 years, but I've seen a lot of different facets of people. As a cop, I saw the worst. So I'm very like I have like an ear for people who are lying or and it's like I can see it. I can feel it when someone's just connecting with me because I can lead them to something else or someone else. That I have no patience for. That I cut off real quick. Because a lot of people are takers. And it's challenging when you're a giver. That's another podcast, but yeah.
Mm. Yeah, no, you're 100% correct. And, that's one thing I think when approaching people and from even a sales standpoint, right? The greatest salespeople are the people that make you, I don't want to say make you, but like become your friend and like are like, oh, this is a genuine guy. Like this is a genuine human being that I would love to buy cars from every day, right? And not the
Exactly.
fast, conniving, slicked hair back.
Yeah,
Like that
exactly.
dude from the 70s, that car
Exactly.
salesman that's all hyped up on cocaine or something.
Exactly. Exactly. Yep. Yep. We're picturing the same guy. Yep, for sure.
Yeah, and but like that is huge, right? As someone who does a sales job, um, I find so much greater success in being genuine with people and being straight up with people and being like, hey, I'm, no, I don't say sometimes maybe even say no bullshit. I'm here because, I'm few minutes to tell you what I'm doing. Just give me a few minutes to tell you what I'm doing.
Yes, and dude, that is so much more effective than like, hey man, so you got a wife, a kid, what are they doing? But it's like, bro, if you're straight up with me, hey dude, yeah, I know you don't know me. And now people fuck, I'm already thinking like people are gonna start messaging me now. Like, here, I'm gonna say exactly what he said on the podcast. But realistically, if you say, hey, blah, 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 like this is who I am, this is what I do, and I'd like to sit down with you. I'm more willing to listen to that versus like, hey bro, what's up? And here's a pet peeve of mine. If you reach out to people, make sure you get their damn name right. Like, there's nothing more annoying than someone who tries to reach out and they don't spell your name right. And it's not a bot. Like you could tell by the
Yeah.
message, like they actually put a little more thought into it than a bot would. But they can't even get your damn name right. Like, put some TLC into this.
Tender love and care.
Dude, I was gonna say, bro, if you didn't do it, I was gonna do it, man.
No, you're
Exactly.
100% correct. And then nothing's worse. Nothing pisses me off more than when like I've had people on LinkedIn like, "Hey, how's it going? I'm doing good. How are you?" And then it's like, "Oh, I'm doing good. Have you done this?" And then it's like, "Okay, yeah, cool." And then it's like they finally go, "Well, I was reaching out for you because I was wondering if you ever thought about this after a 20-minute conversation, man." I'm just like,
Dude,
why? Why not just tell me that at first? Like tell me the reason
yeah.
why you're reaching out first. Don't bullshit me and try to be my friend and then like, "Oh, by the way," like, like you can
Exactly.
you can tell me what you want and try to be my friend at the same time. Like that's not like it's not an impossible thing to do and people just it's so annoying.
And it's a form of like communication and relationship building that again we're starting to stray away from because of convenience, making everything quicker and making everything easier. Where it's like, dude, word of mouth marketing, I still believe is super freaking powerful. When you can make an impact on someone's life that they just want to tell the rest of the world about it, that's how you know you're winning.
I got a tattoo Saturday. You want to know why I got it from that guy? It was finally I didn't change artists, but it's a different artist
Hmm.
because my friend got one done by them and my friend was like, "Yo, did a great job. Obviously, he has the proof of the work, but word of mouth, like right there. It's the only reason I went to that tattoo artist was because my friend told me to go to him. And so much more. And there's
Mm,
so many situations, right? Your friend tells you to watch a TV show, you probably are going to watch it. Your friend tells you, like that's what you want. Like that's the type of business that you want to bring in, you want people to follow you. That's the type of people that you want to follow you is the ones that are gonna be like, hey, I saw this cool thing. Hey, I saw what Curtis was doing the other day, and like,
right.
check it out, man. Check out what Curtis is doing. Like, that's what you need.
Exactly. Exactly. You get it, bro. And that is powerful, man. Because then you're not out there trying to shove your message or your product or your service down people's throats. You got other people speaking all your praises. Like it's like free marketing for you. Yeah. And I love doing it that way. Like sure you can do ads and all these things, right? And to talk about like different strategic ways, but there's just something about really giving that client or that person, like whoever you're working with, above and beyond service that they want to tell the whole world about it. Like you just can't beat that.
Yeah, I think you're right. All right. Oh, is it working? Oh, hold on.
Oh,
Sorry.
there you go.
There we go. Ah, yeah.
Oh, sick. That's
It's the
awesome.
Echo tune, so you know it's time for the craziest thing that you have ever done, Angelo. Let's hear it.
Ooh, I like this. Okay, well, I don't think I can get in trouble for this anymore, but it's been years. But there was one time where where I was working, right? And I was still a cop at the time. And one of my really good friends, like him and I went to the academy together. I know his family, I know his kid, all this stuff. So we had a real tight bond. We were working on opposite sides of the city. And there he got on the radio and I could hear that he was running, that he was chasing after someone. And on the radio, he's like, I'm running, he's chasing one with a gun. And I was like, oh shit. And just from the sound of his voice and me knowing him for so long, this was a serious situation. So I'm like, again, I'm on the opposite side of the city. And I'm like, I forgot what I was doing. I think I was like taking another call or whatever. But I'm like, I drop what I'm doing. I get in my car and I speed to the other side of the city. Cause again, that's my boy. I know his kid. I know his wife. All these flashbacks are going through my head of like, and I could hear him. I heard him running and I'm like, I'm not going to leave my boy out hanging. So I'm speeding through like this through the opposite side of the city. And I didn't realize that there was a certain part of the city that starts to elevate as it gets to these train tracks. Now, I'm going very fast and I hit this thing and I realize as I'm going up, like this shit's a ramp. So I'm in the air and I'm like, I remember hitting it, going in the air and yelling out, oh shit. And I shit you not, bro. It was like a movie. My freaking my what's it called? My work bag and my like the stuff I had in my car literally was like slowly floating up. That's how high and how fast I went. And when I hit, it was like boom, and it started like shaking and all this stuff. I was like, holy shit, that was crazy. Like, and every time I think about that, I was like, I can't believe they paid me to do that. You know what I mean? Like, I got paid to do that crazy shit, dude. It was nuts, man. It was
That's
nuts.
insane. That's insane to think about. If there's ever a video out there of you just like someone catch you flying through the air, like I can envision it. It's like that slow mo, like you can see the coffee coming out of the
That's
cup type.
exactly what,
Like,
dude. That's what it was, bro. I was like in the air, and I remember kind of like looking to my right and seeing my bag floating up, seeing like my paperwork kind of going up, and I was like, "Oh, whoa, I'm up there!" Like, I'm like, "Oh
you
shit!"
get the oh shit look in your face. Like,
Exactly, exactly. But yeah, that was yeah one of my favorite moments for sure.
Definitely, that's great. I love hearing what everyone has to say when it comes to that, and, that's a good one. That's up there definitely for experiences.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
Angelo, where can people find you?
Yeah, man. If you guys want to connect with me on Instagram, you can follow me at angeloliloc.com. That's ANGELOLILOC. And if you guys want to listen to the podcast, we're on all the major platforms: Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple iTunes. You can find me whether you type in my name, Angelo Liloc, or you can search it under the People's Coach.
The people's coach, everybody. Angelo, I appreciate you being on the podcast today. It was great having you. I was super excited to do it. I hope you had a great time.
It was great, man. I appreciate you for having me, brother. Thank you so much.